There's something I'd like to draw some attention to, and that's the matter of Naminé, who at this point is still the only witch we know of in the Kingdom Hearts universe. Well, ignoring Ursula, but I digress. Although the presentation of witches in popular media does vary, what comes to mind for me is the classic Wicked Witch of the West. Green, cackling, warts, you get the idea. Whilst we know Naminé isn't necessarily perfect, she's far from being flat-out evil. With that in mind, I started to wonder what it'd be like if Naminé took on the role of Glinda from the classic 1939 film, The Wizard of Oz.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch? They're laughing because I am a witch. I'm Glinda, the Witch of the North.
Which progressed to me making a dress in 4 weeks. Some general information before I get into the project. I am by no means a professional. I've been sewing for about 2 years now, and I make plenty of mistakes in this video. No, I'm just gonna use the other cam. Oh, I didn't fix it. It's fine. Oh, that's making no sound. And it is definitely not meant to be used as a guide. The pattern I used for this is by Rain Emery with Simplicity, with extra thanks to the Daily Sew and Sew Anastasia for their invaluable guides. I would not have been able to do this project without them. With that being said, let's get started. So I started by cutting out my fabric off camera, as it took several hours to do. Here's all of the fabric laid out before I started. A couple of days later, we have our front layer, our interlining layer, and what needs to still be trimmed in just a second and adjusted is the lining layer and the skirt, which, let me just tell you, I have never cut out a skirt this big. It is ginormous and I cannot even get it all in frame, so that's going to be fun to deal with. It is now time to introduce you to Sheila. This is my grandma's 1975 sewing machine that she gifted me about 2 years ago now, and that is what we are going to be completing this project on. After I finished marking the fabric with a washable pen and cutting my notches, I stay stitched the bodice pieces to make sure they wouldn't stretch. As an additional thing, I understand that the footage might be a little bit difficult to see where my needle is. The machine has a fluorescent bulb attached, and no matter what I did in terms of the camera settings, there was not a way that I could actually make that clearer. After this, it was time to join these pieces together, which I did in all 3 layers. I selected the pattern for a few different reasons. Yes, because it's elegant, but also how the style reflects the inspiration I'm working off of. Glinda's dress has these huge puffy sleeves, which doesn't quite suit Naminé's usual design, so to have these small shoulder sleeves maintains the design through line. Now that the bodice pieces are sewn, it's time to focus on the structure. I'm putting in these boning channels, using twill tape for the centre. Now it is all ready to go in the machine, so we're going to do that now. The corset boning that I have here is already pre-cut from the mock-up I made. I'm testing them to make sure that they fit, and then putting them out of the way to sew in the cups. So these 2 are for the ends, but we will sort that later. So I'm going to put these 2 to the side for now because I won't need them just yet. And okay, so oh, that's looking a lot better this time. Okay. And just like that, it's starting to come together. This is the point where I stopped in the process of the mock-up, which I should have explained is a version of a garment you make with cheaper materials. I'm now pinning, and also clipping, the interlining to the main bodice layer, which will keep everything in place once the corset is complete. We have a bodice now, and it's looking pretty good. Here I did a quick test fit with my model for this project, just to check how everything was fitting and feeling, before moving on to the next step, the sleeves, which meant cutting a lot of organza. Starting with pattern piece 9, I finished cutting out these 3 colours. This sand shade that reads kind of gold to me, it's quite pale when held up individually, a silver, and a blue that is a little bit darker than I originally wanted, but oh well. For now we only need 2 of each shade, so I'm putting the remaining pieces aside for later. Using the pattern underneath the fabric as a guide, I've marked the lines I need so that each layer is ready to go to the machine. Whilst I work on these sleeves, let's stop down and talk a little bit about the fabric I'm using. The main bodice layer is a pure white, and to slightly offset this, the skirt and the bodice lining layer are a cream shade. I figured this would be a good way to maintain synergy with Naminé's design without looking too much like a wedding dress. These are both satin, and the interlining layer is a cotton canvas. As for the organza, I chose the goldish shade for Naminé's star charms on her shoes, and also her good luck charm, the silver for her dress and shoes, and the blue just to tie it all together. You could almost look at it as representing Kyrie, as she's the sea in the Destiny trio. For these sleeves, the goal is for them to look like leaves in a sort of woodland fae way. I know that's not quite what we're going for here, but I think that the whimsy is perfect for this concept, and you could almost consider it as a callback to the paopu fruit. Now that all of the leaves have been sewn, having taken an age might I add, we're combining one of each shade to make the 2 sleeves. I chose to have the gold in the centre, and somehow forgot to mirror the outer sleeves, but I ended up completely forgetting about it once it was done. Gathers. Oh, gathers, what used to be the bane of my existence. I have never understood how people manage to avoid their basting stitches breaking, because without fail, mine always did. That's why I'm using this method, which is to pull up the bobbin thread and zigzag stitch over the 2 threads. Sure, it's not the neatest in the world, but I'd rather that than snapping threads over and over again. I've had to speed up most of this footage to 400% because of how long everything takes. Trust me, we would be here forever if I didn't. After all of that, it's finally time to attach the sleeves to the bodice. This was a little bit finicky, but we got there in the end. So, our sleeves are in. That means we're finally going to add in the lining layer. I do hope you're not getting bored of watching me pin things because we've got plenty more to go. This also means adding in those last 2 boning pieces from before. And now, the bias finding. I'm going to be honest with you all now, this was probably my least favourite part of this project. Actually, let's add some battle music. There we go. It took me the entirety of a day to do this part, and it still didn't look how I wanted it to once I was done. If I were to do this again, I'd have done it by hand to avoid breaking my machine needle again. This happened because a couple of the boning pieces on the side seams were just a tad too long, which meant they were right where I needed to sew. Lesson learned for sure. Jumping ahead a little bit, because that's more than enough bias binding woes, we've got our organza bodice sleeves prepared. I hand sewed these to the bodice off camera, as it took a long time to do, but that means it's decoration time. And that also means a chance to talk more about Naminé as a character, as well as my design choices here. I selected this gorgeous gold flower trim because it once again reminded me of that palpu fruit and star theming, and it also looks exactly like Kairi's heart as seen in Kingdom Hearts 3. I knew it was absolutely perfect for this. I did end up going in and adding a little bit more later, but shh. Naminé is very much kept in a bubble of sorts throughout the series. It's only really now that she finally gets to exist by herself. I'd like to imagine this gown would suit a future Naminé, whom we have yet to see. At this point in time though, I do wonder what's next for her. I'm okay with the fact that we might not see her as much, because her main role has been to be a foil for Kairi. Something I haven't mentioned yet is the March Caprice theme for this year being Homecoming. It was a big part of why I took on this project. The Wizard of Oz feels permanently nostalgic for me, even though I definitely wasn't around when it was released. It's the Technicolor, the effects that never would have been used today, for many reasons, and that feeling isn't dissimilar to how I feel about the Chain of Memory story. The second entry in a series spanning over 2 decades does feel quite nostalgic now, even for its remake counterpart. Nostalgia itself is this amalgamation of memories and feelings, and there's nobody who represents memory more than Naminé. As for the centrepiece, this took me genuinely months of hunting for. I really wanted to have an opal gem in the centre on a silver backing to maintain the colours I was already working with. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to in the end. I also had to buy these pieces separately, so here's me hot gluing the gemstone to the flower piece. Another fun fact. I was doing this whilst watching Cats with some friends, so to those friends, this is what I was doing at the time. And to finish up the bodice, I added in these grommets to allow this to be tied later. Nearly 15 minutes in, we're finally getting to the skirt. Thankfully there's a lot less involved here, but it is a lot of fabric, so apologies in advance as this did make filming difficult. At this point, I started to prepare the pockets. Yes, this dress has pockets, and made sure to mark all of the points that I needed. From there, it was time to sew again. It was a reoccurring theme with the skirt, that it just kept sliding off my desk constantly, but despite all of that, I joined together the centre front with the 2 back panels to make the basis of our skirt. Whilst I sew the world's longest side seams, let's get back to some character analysis. Naminé isn't my favourite character.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I still chose to focus on her because even now there's still a lot that we only vaguely know. The manipulation she faces during Chain of Memories is punctuated with extortion. She has to commit this act of falsifying Sora's memories against her will. It's when she stands up for herself that she closely resembles Kairi, and it demonstrates that she can be quite assertive, but the way that she facilitates a therapy session of sorts for Roxas and for Shion is all her own. She brings a calm and collected energy to these moments, and continues to assist wherever she can. I finished up all of the remaining skirt leaves, and so it's time to add them to the skirt. I'm starting with the centre front, using the longer leaves, and I wanted to start with the gold, to echo the corset. I then continued this around the rest of the skirt. With that all done, and my camera back in focus, sorry about that, I gathered my skirt to fit the waistband. And learned exactly why we check how much is left in our bobbin. Anyway, we're very nearly done now. All that's left is to add the zip. I put mine in by hand, as I don't have a zip foot with this machine. Look at that, the effect came out great! Okay, I did lie when I started the last step, but we're finally finishing up the skirt now. I'm sewing the centre back seam closed with my machine, and finishing the waistband by hand. I had one leaf left over to cover the centre back now that it's all sewn. I used Velcro for this, just to make it easier to get on and off. I hem the skirt after trimming off the stretch, which means it's finally time for the reveal.